tales in a digital sleigh.
So if you take like an hour-long interview transcript.
Oh, yeah. The ultimate temptation.
Right. You just drop it into your favorite AI chatbot and ask for a neat summary of the core insights. But the thing is, you aren't actually getting qualitative research.
No, definitely not.
What you're getting is this highly convincing, beautifully formatted hallucination.
It really is. I mean, it's the modern trap for anyone handling data. You've got hundreds of pages of messy, contradictory, just deeply human conversations.
Yeah.
And the urge to just click a button and let the machine tell you what it all means is, well, it's overwhelming.
For sure.
But coherence does not equal evidence. An AI can spin a very compelling narrative out of your text, but if you don't know how it's processing that material under the hood, I mean, you are risking the entire integrity of your findings.
Which is exactly why we're here. Welcome to a special deep dive. Today, we're unpacking the notes, the slide decks, and the full transcript from a really highly discussed webinar that took place on June 5th, 2026.
Yes, a really important session.
Yeah, it was called AI for Qualitative Research. What works, what fails, how to stay in control. Hosted by qualitative research veteran Susanne Friese.
She's brilliant.
She is. So if you couldn't attend or, you just prefer listening to a deep dive over watching a video recording, we are breaking down the whole presentation for you today.
And our mission here is to explore why you should never just, automate qualitative analysis.
Right.
We want to look at the hidden dangers of relying on general-purpose chatbots and how to actually use AI as a rigorous co-pilot without, losing your methodological soul in the process.
I love that phrasing because the stakes are fascinating.
Yep.
We all know AI is incredibly fluent. It summarizes text beautifully.
Oh, it's magic at summarizing.
Yeah, and Susanne Friese knows this better than anyone. I mean, she's been working in digital qualitative research since 1992.
Wow. Long time.
Right. She actually coined the phrase, stop coding, start talking,
Yeah.
a while back. She uses these tools constantly. So the goal of the webinar wasn't to just bash AI.
No, not at all.
It was to draw a hard line between what it excels at and where it fundamentally fails when it deals with, human messiness.
Exactly. So let's establish that baseline. Chatbots are undeniably useful. I mean, we use them every day. General purpose models like Claude, GPT, Gemini, they are phenomenal thinking partners.
Yeah, the presentation actually highlighted this viral example Susanne posted on LinkedIn. She needed to do a meta review of 110 academic articles for a book chapter on hybrid intelligence.
That's a lot of reading.
It is. And she used Claude Sonnet 4.8 on her desktop, and it worked brilliantly. But the underlying reason it worked is the key, right? It didn't just magically digest the science.
No, because the discovery process had actually already happened in her own mind. She intimately knew the literature.
Right. She pre-organized all those PDFs into highly specific subfolders on her local machine before the AI ever even touched them.
Right. So she provided this rigid structure, and the AI just acted as a condensation engine. It was a bounded, structured task.
Bounded, yeah.
And that is where current chatbots prove themselves. If you give them strong boundaries, they perform really well.
The webinar showed another great example of this with a survey, actually. She took 150 open-ended survey responses from pharmaceutical employees.
Oh, right. The R&D scientists.
Yeah, the scientists talking about job satisfaction and dissatisfaction. And when you have highly structured data sitting in an Excel file with clear questions and, relatively short answers, current models can actually handle that and return a fully coded table.
But there is a massive caveat there.
Huge.
You cannot just upload an Excel file and give a lazy prompt like, make a coding frame.
Right, because it doesn't know what that means.
Exactly. A coding frame in research isn't just a casual list of topics. It's a precise analytic instrument. If you let the chatbot run wild, it'll just give you overlapping categories or invent a unique code for every single row just to be safe.
Just to please you.
Yes. Or it'll blend causes and effects into a single confusing bucket. So Susanne had to engineer this incredibly strict prompt with heavy methodological rules.
Meaning, she had to teach it how to categorize properly before it even looked at the data.
Exactly. She had to enforce homogeneity, so making sure each code referred to only one clearly defined idea.
Okay.
And she also enforced heterogeneity, meaning every code had to be completely distinguishable from all the others.
Which is so hard for AI sometimes.
It really is. A major instruction was preventing the AI from mixing positive and negative sentiments.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so if the AI saw people talking about adequate resources and lack of resources, its natural instinct is just to lump them all under a generic resources tag.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but she had to force it to create separate, distinct codes.
So it's kind of similar to asking a sous chef to, like, chop onions or organize the walk-in fridge.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, they are fantastic at the prep work, provided you give them exact measurements and strict instructions. But you wouldn't just walk out of the kitchen and expect them to invent the Michelin star tasting menu from scratch.
That analogy captures the dynamic perfectly. And even when that AI sous chef does the prep work flawlessly, and every single row in your spreadsheet has a shiny new code next to it.
Yeah.
Row completion does not mean coding validity. The human researcher still has to inspect the work to ensure the logic actually holds up.
Hold on. If I can engineer a strict prompt to successfully code 150 survey responses, why can't I just take an hour-long, totally unstructured interview transcript, drop it into the exact same AI, and just ask for the main themes? Like, what is the actual difference to the machine?
Well, the difference lies in how large language models actually read and process information. Unstructured data, like a natural human conversation, it wanders, it doubles back.
Right. People get distracted.
People totally contradict themselves. And when you feed that inherent messiness into a system that is fundamentally designed to produce smooth, coherent, and highly probable text, you end up with what the webinar called fast food research.
Fast food research.
Yeah.
The era of ultra-processed insights. I think that term originally comes from an article by Claude that was referenced in the slides. It implies that what you're getting looks like a meal, but it lacks any real nutritional value.
Yeah, consider the processing pipeline you don't see. When you drop a massive transcript into a chat window, the AI doesn't hold the entire document in its active holistic memory the way a human researcher does.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, it extracts the text, it chunks it into smaller segments, and if it starts running out of space in its context window, it quietly compresses or summarizes those chunks just to make room.
So it's actively flattening out the nuance just to fit the conversation inside its own brain.
Exactly, and that compression leads directly to subtle hallucinations.
Which is such a tricky word, right? Because when we hear hallucination in the context of AI, we picture the machine inventing a fake legal case or claiming the moon is made of cheese.
Right, but this is far more insidious. It isn't fabricating fake events, it's fabricating false patterns. It suffers from premature coherence.
Premature coherence.
Yeah. Suzanne's presentation broke down how this manifests. Sometimes the AI overgeneralizes. Like it finds one incredibly striking, very articulate quote from a single participant, and it quietly presents it as the prevailing theme for the entire dataset.
Ignoring everyone else.
Yeah.
Because the algorithm loves a good, clear quote. It just gravitates toward the strongest signal.
Right. Other times, it engages in what we can call smoothing. It actively erases the fascinating contradictory differences between your participants, so the final narrative just looks cleaner.
Wow.
And if that fails, it blends fragments of stories from entirely different people into one fictionalized megastory.
That's terrifying for research.
It is. And where the evidence is thin, it just fills the gaps with a highly plausible explanation drawn from its vast training data, rather than what is actually in your transcript.
It honestly reminds me of that overeager student in a university seminar who hasn't actually done the reading.
Yes.
Like, they listen to a few comments, string together a bunch of academic buzzwords that sound incredibly smart, but if you poke the argument even a little bit, there is absolutely nothing holding it up.
That is the perfect embodiment of fast food research. And the presentation outlined the severe hidden costs of this approach. The most dangerous one is epistemic clutter.
Epistemic clutter.
Because if you can generate a beautifully formatted insights report in 5 seconds, human nature dictates you will generate dozens of them.
And suddenly you have profound analytic noise. You end up with so many fragmented AI-generated summaries that you could justify literally any business decision you want just by picking the report that agrees with you.
Exactly. You also suffer from surface-level findings. The output sounds exceptionally professional, but it completely misses the interpretive depth that only occurs when a human actually immerses themselves in the text.
Right.
Finally, there's a total loss of context. An AI processing a text file does not know the 10-year business history of the client. It doesn't possess the instinctive gut feeling the researcher had while sitting across the table from the participant.
Yeah, research quality is built through friction and engagement with the data, not through one-click production.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if standard chatbots smooth over details and invent this premature coherence, the obvious fix is to force the AI to cite its sources, right? I know a lot of researchers are turning to retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, to solve this.
Yes, RAG is huge right now.
Tools like Google's NotebookLM are incredibly popular for exactly this reason.
And RAG is a massive step forward for interacting with documents. Instead of just relying on its internal memory, the system retrieves relevant passages from the specific sources you uploaded and then uses those passages to generate its answer. It grounds the output in your actual material.
Right, and because it gives you the footnotes, you feel like you can totally trust it. The webinar actually featured an incredible experiment testing this assumption using Susanne's friendship dataset.
Oh, that was a fascinating experiment.
Yeah, so this is a qualitative dataset featuring interviews with participants named Alexander, Trevor, Deborah, and Shazia, and they're just discussing how their lifelong friendships originally formed.
Right, so she uploaded the transcripts and asked NotebookLM a simple question. What were their first impressions upon meeting the people who would become their best friends?
Sounds straightforward.
Very. And the system immediately returned neatly structured, beautifully written themes. One of the primary headers was relief in daunting environments.
Okay.
And it then explained how Alexander's first impression was characterized by an anxiety-driven relief when someone finally talked to him on his first day of university.
But wait, if I can click the footnote in NotebookLM, and it takes me directly to the transcript, where Alexander says he walked into a massive room of strangers, thought crap, and then felt immensely relieved when a guy named Trevor approached him.
Yeah.
Why is that a problem? The AI connected the dots and called it an anxiety-driven relief. Isn't that the whole point of analysis?
Well, the problem is that the AI skipped the foundational stages of qualitative methodology.
How so?
In rigorous qualitative work, there's a staged, deliberate movement. First, you describe the cases to intimately familiarize yourself with the raw data. Second, you compare those cases against one another.
Okay.
Only then, in the third step, do you interpret the overarching patterns. The AI bypassed the description and comparison entirely and just jumped straight to interpretation.
It committed the sin of premature interpretation.
Exactly. Alexander never actually used the word anxious. The AI interpreted his situation as anxiety-driven based on its own semantic associations.
Oh, I see.
While it provided a citation is merely an invitation to inspect evidence. It's not a final, undeniable conclusion.
Right, it's just a starting point.
Yeah. The real danger here is anchoring. The AI delivers this fluent, highly authoritative interpretation, which immediately anchors your thinking before you have even had the chance to understand the raw data yourself. You start seeing the data through the AI's lens rather than your own.
And the presentation proved just how fragile that AI lens really is.
It did. Just 5 minutes after generating that first summary, Susanne gave NotebookLM the exact same friendship dataset, the exact same underlying research question, but slightly tweaked the instruction to emphasize comparing the cases.
And what happened?
The AI completely abandoned the relief in daunting environments theme. It just vanished.
No way.
The new themes were suddenly shared life stages, cultural background, and mutual support.
So depending on the specific verbs you use in your prompt on, like a Tuesday afternoon, your multi-million-dollar corporate insights report could point your company in completely different strategic directions.
Which is terrifying. NotebookLM is fantastic for chatting with documents, but a generic chat over pasted text, even with source links, is not the equivalent of a stable, rigorous analytic workflow.
This brings us to a critical crossroads. If even a source-grounded tool hallucinates themes based on slight variations in a prompt, how on earth does a researcher actually stay in the driver's seat?
Well, the ultimate infrastructure for qualitative analysis is context. You have to move away from general-purpose chatbots and move toward purpose-built qualitative environments where context is strictly enforced before the analysis even begins.
Enforced context. So rather than just dumping a transcript into a blank text box, what does that actually look like in practice?
Think about how you'd collaborate with a human. If a colleague sits down to help you analyze a data set, the first thing they ask for is the research brief. What are we looking for? Why was this study commissioned?
Right. Give me the background.
A chatbot never asks. It just happily guesses based on whatever scraps you feed it. To get valid analysis out of an AI, you must explicitly specify the research purpose, the demographics, the sampling strategy, and your specific methodological orientation.
You also have to include the embodied experience, right? Like the field notes.
Absolutely. Large language models are disembodied. They do not have lived experience. They cannot read the room.
They don't know the vibes.
Exactly. They don't know that the participant was rolling their eyes sarcastically or holding back tears or acting guarded because their manager was standing right outside the glass door.
Right.
If you don't feed those field notes into the system's context, the AI takes every word at literal face value. You also have to carefully define the unit of analysis, and crucially, you must identify the interviewer's status in the transcript.
That is such a vital detail. Because if you don't separate the interviewer from the participant, the AI might grab a chunk of text where the interviewer is just summarizing or paraphrasing a previous point, and the system will present it back to you as a profound empirical quote from the subject.
It happens constantly in fast food research. The AI codes the interviewer's assumptions as the participant's lived reality. And you can't solve this by just tossing methodological buzzwords into the prompt.
Like what?
You cannot just type, do a grounded theory analysis of this transcript.
Grounded theory is all about building a framework from the ground up, right?
Yeah.
Letting the data speak for itself without preconceived notions.
Yes, but an AI has already ingested the entire internet. It carries the weight of 1 trillion parameters of preconceived notions. It cannot unknow its training data to give you a purely grounded analysis.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Plus, it has read all the terrible, misinformed student essays about grounded theory right alongside the actual textbooks. So if you just ask for grounded theory, it will default to a generic, safe, thematic summary just to avoid making a mistake. You have to guide the AI through a dialogue. You state the approach, specify a microanalytic task, ask for a stage-specific output, inspect that output, correct its drift, and then ask for the next step.
Which is exactly why Susanne Friese co-founded a purpose-built platform called QInsights. The webinar actually walked through how it is specifically designed to plug these methodological gaps. It isn't just a wrapper for a chatbot.
No, it's very different.
When you start a project in QInsights, the architecture actually forces you to enter the project context. It's a requirement, not an optional settings menu.
Because it enforces the discipline that general chatbots let you skip. It handles the speaker mapping, so it never analyzes your own interview questions as empirical data.
Which is huge.
You can assign demographic profiles to your participants, allowing you to later ask the system to specifically compare the conceptual differences between, say, junior staff and senior management. But the most significant difference is how it utilizes agentic workflows under the hood.
I hear that term a lot lately, agentic workflows. How did that actually change the way the AI reads the data compared to me just writing one massive prompt?
Well, instead of relying on one massive prompt, hitting a single AI model and just hoping for the best, an agentic workflow acts like a committee of specialized AIs.
Okay.
One AI agent is tasked purely with retrieving text. Another agent is tasked purely with comparing those retrieved chunks. A third agent synthesizes them, and a fourth might verify the synthesis against the original text.
So they check each other's work.
Exactly. When you run a theme analysis in a system like this, it doesn't just blindly auto-code your entire data set and hand you a final answer. It highlights the specific text segments contributing to an emerging theme, acting as an interactive workspace.
So it's keeping you involved.
It constantly forces your eyes back to the original source text so you can read the surrounding context.
Okay, here is the ultimate trap, though. If I'm spending hours meticulously feeding the AI my exact research questions, my personal field notes, the specific demographic filters, and my exact methodological parameters, am I not just building a massive, highly sophisticated echo chamber?
That's a very fair question.
Am I just programming the machine to spit back the exact narrative I already suspect to be true?
That is the defining question of AI-assisted research, and the answer hinges entirely on the difference between deductive confirmation and abductive reasoning.
Okay, break that down for me.
If you upload a massive theoretical framework and explicitly tell the AI to find examples of this, you are acting deductively. You will absolutely create an echo chamber. The AI will eagerly find evidence to please you.
Right.
But if you use the context to set the boundaries of the search and then use the AI to rigorously pressure test your emerging hunches, you are engaging in abductive reasoning.
So instead of looking for evidence to prove a theory I already have, I'm using the machine to try and break a hunch I just formed.
Precisely. Let's say you're reading through the transcripts and you start noticing a faint pattern. You develop a small hypothesis. Without AI, testing that tiny hypothesis across 400 pages of transcripts would take days of manual reading.
And you'd likely miss contradictory evidence just because of human fatigue.
Absolutely. But with a purpose-built AI, you can input your thought, like, I am starting to suspect a connection between a lack of onboarding training and eventual burnout in the R&D department. Go check this hypothesis against the entire data set. Does the evidence actually support this, or is the data pointing somewhere else entirely?
You are turning the AI into a tireless sparring partner.
Checking a hypothesis against 400 pages of data using a system that never gets tired is an incredibly rigorous test, provided you are genuinely asking it to challenge you.
Yeah.
You are entering into a dialogue with your data. You push back against the AI's surface-level readings, demanding it dig deeper into implicit meanings, and it pushes back by instantly retrieving every quote that contradicts your pet theory.
Which brings us to the core takeaway from this entire webinar. If there's one thing you remember from Susanne's presentation, let it be this. You cannot separate the analysis from the researcher.
Never.
AI is an unbelievable assistant. It is a tireless co-pilot capable of processing vast amounts of text. But it is not, and should not be treated as, an automated insight machine.
True analysis is a traceable, interactive dialogue. It is an iterative, sometimes frustrating process of questioning, retrieving evidence, inspecting the source material, challenging the AI's assumptions, and finally synthesizing the results yourself.
Right.
The ultimate goal of qualitative research is never just acquiring the fastest possible answer. The goal is moving through a rigorous process that produces findings you can actually trust.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over. We've spent this entire deep dive discussing how to manage AI's current flaws, the hallucinations, the smoothing, the eagerness to jump to conclusions. But imagine a future, maybe 5 or 10 years from now, where the models become absolutely perfect. Like they never hallucinate. They parse qualitative nuance flawlessly.
A fascinating hypothetical for the industry.
If that day arrives, what becomes the true value of the human researcher? Perhaps the future of research isn't about the raw computational ability to find the hidden patterns in the data. Maybe the true value will be the human courage and empathy required to know which of those patterns actually matter to the messy, contradictory, beautiful human experience.
That's a profound thought.
Because when the machine eventually learns to perfectly map every single drop of water in the entire ocean, you are still going to need a human being to decide where to sail the ship. Keep asking the right questions, keep questioning the easy answers, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.
AI whispers, let's dive in. Qualitative flow, leading the way. Discover the tale